Hey guys, welcome back to Doodads, Gadgets, and Gizmos. If you watch the bench grinder revival, you might have caught I found a tool that caught my eye, a drill press. Anyway, the bench grinder went well and it's got a new home, so I'm back to grab another project, and it just so happens they still had that drill press I was looking at, so I'm just waiting for them to bring it out to me. We'll get it loaded up, get back to the shop, and give it a good once over. Let's get to it. How's it going, buddy? That's an awkward one, huh? That'll do. There you go, buddy. Thank you. I'm just going to spin it around and lay it down. Thanks, buddy. Ooh, just fits. Okay, so we got our Delta back here. It's a 8850. Right, nice little machine, just a little mistreated. Got a bolt-on jig here that they made for basically when you have something like that, it's usually because they're doing repetitive work, right? Especially if you see signs of rust along the shaft here, that means there's not typically a lot of movement, so there's not a lot of changes, right? So they're just doing repetitive work. So they have line-up marks where they just line a part up and drill it accordingly. And considering it may be wood, maybe not, don't know, it doesn't really matter. Now, the depth of this, or the throat of this unit, so if you look here, it's to the center of the chuck, it's around 8 1/4. All right, so that's going to be a 16.5 inch tool. So when you read on a drill press and they're talking about the depth here, they're going to give you the diameter of a part that will work in here. So if the part is anything under 16 inches in diameter, for example, you'll be able to get to the center of that part and drill the center. Like here, I have my Porter cable unit. So if you took this and threw it up here, right, you look there, it's 7.5. Okay, so this would be a 15-inch tool. This one, again, going in there, center, come on out. So that's 16.5 inches. So a little bit bigger diameter of parts for whatever project you're working on. You can have a little bit bigger diameter, and that's generally for lathes and things like that. So an 8-inch diameter lathe, for example, you only have 4 inches on either side of the tool for clearance, but you can work on an 8-inch diameter part. So we got some surface rust here. We got some indications that it was kind of just put in a corner and repetitive work done with it, and not a whole lot of attention was paid to really maintaining the thing. We got some things here, like little things like that. It really shouldn't do that. So we'll see if we can get that straight. You got your control here. If you look, the return is kind of sluggish. So that's probably just an indication that it's dirty inside the shaft there and lacking lubrication. And judging by what we see here, that's pretty much indicated by what they do. So we'll get that cleaned up and lubricated. Inside here, again, you got, you can see that there's just a ton of buildup of dirt and grime and so on and so forth. So if you look here, here's that spindle shaft dropping, and you can see how dirty it is. So that's why that return is the way it is. So we'll get that cleaned up. And this, although this diameter of this hole is accordingly, so you can adjust the tension by moving the motor of this belt as you raise the belts to change the RPMs. So that's why that's an oversized hole, but it's not self-adjusting in that regard. It really shouldn't be doing that. So we'll see what we can do about cleaning that up. As I'm turning it, there is a grinding noise emanating from the motor. So we're going to have to crack into this and see what it is. Judging by the dirt of it, it's probably just some garbage that got down in there, but it could have damaged. We won't know until I get it cleaned up. We plug it in, take it for a test drive, and see what kind of numbers I get back from the meter. But anyway, again, we got some surface rust and some things to touch up here. There's a couple of different ways we can address this. A good old SOS pad is nice, but sometimes you need something a little bit better, like emery cloth or something like that. But let's get into cleaning this thing up. It was almost to the scrap pile, so we were able to save it from the scrap pile. So let's make best use of it and get this thing back to work. So what I normally do when I have a situation like this, we're going to go through everything. We're going to clean everything up. We're going to test everything. We're going to do a bunch of things with this, right? So there's all sorts of little parts and widgets and so forth that we need to mess around with. Now, if you've never gotten into one of these before, if you've never done this before and you're looking at just cleaning stuff up, my recommendation is break out your phone or your camera or whatever you use and just snap some pictures all the way around. So what I'm doing here, okay, I've been into plenty of these before, but the idea for you is to go in, again, if you've never done it before, and just take pictures of how things look, how it was. So if you take something off, and then, believe me, you're going to think, oh, well, I'll just pull this off, pull that off. And then you have a big pile of parts, and then you go to put it back together, and you can't for the life of you remember where this stuff was or where that was or how. So just take some pictures before you start tearing into it. So I'm going to remove this lid here. Okay, I'm going to take these screws out, move this lid, because behind there's some pulleys and widgets and so forth in there that I want to get out of the way. So I can get this off of here, get the wiring out so I can pull this motor down. There's a few things I want to do here. But in order to do that, I'm going to pull this and it'll give you a little. Now, when you're doing this, keep a happy little place for all your screws. You want to keep your screws in one place. If you got a nut and bolt or a screw and bolt that you're taking apart, you're going to want to keep them, put them back together, right? The less you have to try to figure out when you start putting things back together, the better, the less frustrated you're going to be. And I mean, really, I could just go through some of this stuff and just wipe it off. But I like to get way down in there and make sure I go through the thing entirely because I want this tool to make it back out and have a long, healthy life in someone else's shop. And so if I overlook something, for example, like if I don't dive into that motor, see what's going on, or I just assume it's one thing, or I don't check the wiring and so on and so forth, it may have a lot shorter life than we want. And for whatever reason, in today's society, we're pretty much becoming a throwaway society, right? Where something doesn't work, they just toss it out and replace it. And that's fine when you have lower quality tools, but some of these tools, they're going to cost you, like a good Delta here. You're getting up in the range, 750,000 for something in this vicinity here, because it's a good high quality tool. It's not a harbor junk or anything like that. You know, it's meant to last a while. So when we go through these things, we want to make sure we're identifying everything and keeping everything in a happy little home so we don't lose the parts, right? So now the reason I pulled that is so you can see. So you got the motor pulley here, then you got the tensioner here, right? And then you got the spindle pulley here. And you can see how they're different heights. And basically all that is as you change the level of these belts on each side, now that one go from here to here, it, for all intent and purposes, or it's designed to change the RPM of the drill chuck down there, whether you're doing high-speed drilling or low-speed drilling. And a lot of your drill bits will have the recommended RPM for whatever material you're working with. Wood is a little more forgiving than steel, and depending on the steel that you're cutting, because those things can burn some bits up in a heartbeat. And so you want to pay particular attention to the spec on the drill bit. Anywho, we're getting in there, and now we're going to dive into it a little bit more, and start pulling things apart. Okay, so these things are pretty simple. I won't really mess around with this one. This one here, you'll look in here, you look for Allen key or something like that, but it's really not there. This is just kind of set in place because it's not on a tensioner or anything, so it usually just pulls right out, right? And then this one here, okay, you don't want to struggle with this because you're going to try to struggle to get this nut off of here so you can start working on that wheel. Problem is it spins all over the place, and I've seen people try to hold this with pliers and this with pliers, but if you spin this down a little bit, you see this little slot right here, okay? There's a gap right there. Put that in there. Now, this isn't going anywhere, all right? It's locked into place. There's another reason for this too, to get this chuck out of here. We'll do that later, so I can show you, because this chuck was stuck, so we're going to get that clean. And then keep in mind when you're working on things that you haven't worked before, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, but sometimes, like in this case, the nuts are reversed, okay? The threads are reversed. So what you think you're tightening, you're actually loosening. So you want to make sure you know what direction the threads are in. Now, I need to go get a manipulator to get this off of here. Hang tight. Okay, so the first one I'm going to try to use as a manipulator is this one, but I don't want to give it too much of a hassle because I don't want to crack anything. But yeah, that's pretty loose. So there we go, just that simple. So now we got that off of there. Every once in a while I'll grab a puller like that, but in this instance I didn't need it. So now this is pretty clean, pretty open. I got a couple screws here to take out. Uh-oh, things are getting out of control. It's getting a little messy. Starting to lose things now. As I go through this, I will stop every so often and just get resituated, because I'll stick stuff in my pockets and so on and so forth, and then it's like, what did I do with it? For example, I had a Phillips head screwdriver and it disappeared. Who knows? We're going to take these screws out here, and we'll match this screw here for when we put this back together, because it's just missing a few. I'll pull that out of there like that. Oop, oop. Okay, that's out of there. So we got our front controller here. And I'll show you what this looks like once I get this open. Let's open this up. Off the faceplate. All right. So now let's get a look in here. So basically these two wires come in because it's the power coming in. So you got your plug here that you plug in. It comes in across the top here, drops down through the top, and then lands in here, okay? Because this little guy here is what starts and stops everything. So we got a connection there. This is all pretty virgin stuff. It's never been messed with. Okay, so you should have a constant in there. There it is. Where's that attached at? There's your ground back there. Okay, here's your other. Okay, so it's splitting the hots. All right. Now, if you take a picture here, you can see something, but let me show you a little trick that I've learned so you don't have to overthink it. Hang tight. Sharpie can be your best friend. So I'm just going to put a mark there and put a mark there. Okay. So now I know when I go to put it back together that that's where that goes. So I know that one goes where there's no mark, that one goes there. And all that does is just help you keep from reversing the polarity of the switch and making sure all is good. Then you can just disconnect. All right. So we'll check that out. We'll check the switch too with continuity. I'll show you how to do that. Okay. So let's go up. Let's get you up in here. I got some more missing screws back there. All right, let's see what else we got here. Get a light. I can't see nothing. So that's what I'm looking at back in there so you guys can see. All right, we got our grounds. We got that little screw up there because we need to get these wires out of here and get this off. So I got to get, oh crap, sorry. I got to get a couple screws out of there, a couple ground wires, disconnect this connection here, and then I'll be able to pull this box off. So hang tight. That's clear. All that's clear. Now we should be able to take that. Voila. We got that off. Now we can clean this up. And now that we have access to that, we can get down in here and look and see what kind of stuff we got going on and do some cleaning and lubricating. But let's get in there and show you what it looks like in there. Okay. So it's not overly complicated. Okay. Pretty simple. Just a few little gears and wizards. Hold on, let me see if I can get you a better look. So there's the spline, there's the gears for spinning that. And basically that just goes up and down through here. Not a whole lot to it, but you can see you start getting some buildup and dust. And these are the two nuts on this side here that hold the motor shaft from sliding back and forth for the adjustment. Pretty simple, not a whole lot to it. This here, so you can see here, this right here is the main pivot point. So if you see here, right there, that controls this, and this is what controls the motor sliding back and forth. So not incredibly complicated in there, but there are some points that we're going to get here, clean up and lube up. So we're well on our way. Let's keep at it. Down to the nitty gritty now. Let's see here. You know what? I think I'm going to grab some air, kind of blow this out a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and clean some of this out. What do you think of that? Okay, so it was apparent that this thing was in a wood shop or something, because this thing was just inundated with dust. And you see, every once in a while, maybe once a day, once a week, once a month, but just a little more than once a decade, take your air tool and just open that lid, blow it out a little bit, blow your motor out, and it's bing, bang, boom, this thing stays clean. But you start getting all that buildup in these motors, that's what burns them up, right? So take a little bit of care of it, just blow it off every once in a while, lubricate some things and so on and so forth. But I'll keep going, get this detached, plug it in, and see if it actually runs for us. Okay, I don't recommend this at home, but I'm just going to check something out here. Yep. Well, we got ourselves an issue there. Let's dive into it and see if we can figure it out. Okay, I don't know if you heard it, but when I hit the switch to start it up, then um, pulling the truck in. But when I hit the switch to start it up, it did not want to start. All right, but if I gave that little thing a little twist, and boom, off to the races it went. So it's very good likelihood that in that instance, we have a capacitor in here, or a start run capacitor, that is not starting and running like it should. Okay, what it does is it stores energy in the capacitor to allow this motor to start. And if you look again, you know, we're starting to see a lot of that, more of that dust buildup. And I also see evidence of a wire situation here. See it there? Now, guys, it's very important. If you don't know much about electrical, don't mess with it, right? Because these little capacitors here store a ton of energy. And they can really knock you for a loop if you do the wrong thing. And it doesn't have to be plugged in, because these do store power. You usually want to de-energize them before you do any kind of work with them. That little short there, that makes me nervous, right? So that tells me that this capacitor went bad, it's overheating, and they're trying to start this unit and it's just sitting there humming and not starting. So definitely we need to get a new capacitor. But before I go that far with it, I'm going to finish pulling this motor off the machine, and we'll get inside and see what shape the actual motor's in, because it sounded like there was a little bit of bearing issues with it. So we'll get into it and see what we can find. See if we just want to replace the capacitor or get a little further into it. But that's next on the agenda before we move forward. Wow. So I don't know if you noticed when this fell, first thing I did was look straight down. I just looked down to chase the part as it's going, because I want to keep an eye on it, and I keep watching it until it stops. That way I know right where it's at. I just go pick it up, put it all back together, and voila, we have all of our parts. So now we got the motor off and we can dig into it a little deeper. We can see what's going on with this capacitor, see if there's anything else inside there that we need to worry about. So we can wire in this new capacitor when we get one on hand, and we'll pull this motor apart. We'll check this back bearing here, see if it's just a lubricant issue or if there's something a little more involved. The front bearing feels okay. There's no slop in it. So I think it's just primarily this back bearing here that was causing the ruckus. Yeah, I can hear it back here. So we'll pull this back cover off, check that bearing, either see if it's okay, see if there's slop in it, or because of all that sawdust, we just need a little bit of lubrication. But let's get into it. Morning. I went ahead and jumped on Granger and ordered a capacitor for this, because, you know, I don't know if you noticed, but I took all the whirly woo gadgets and stuff off before I plugged this motor in and tried it. I did that because I wanted to isolate the issues to the motor, and the spinny drill bit chuck thing wasn't binded up, because it is. Wasn't affecting the motor. So I took all that off so I could isolate the motor itself. Also lubed it up a little bit when I took it apart, and that quietened it up a lot. But I have a little gadget over there that I use to test the capacitors. I'll show you that, because like I said, I ordered one, and I'm not too worried about it because it was a $10 part. Now, some of you might be asking, Rich, why go through all of this? Why, go through the hassle? Just order a motor. And, okay, I could do that. But we got to remember the objective here. My objective is to take a tool that is ready for a scrapyard, salvage it, save it from the scrapyard, and put it in somebody's shop that might otherwise not be able to afford one, or maybe going to, like one of the Harbor Freight or whatever, buying something that ultimately is just going to fail or is less than prime, right? So this is a really good drill that has a lot of life left in it, and I just hate to see it go. So, but I want to do it on a budget, so so it gets into a shop of someone otherwise who may not be able to afford it. Now, I'll show you something here, another indication that this drill had a tough life, and it was in a wood shop. So you see all of the wood dust build up here, right? Oof, poof, look at that. Now, see this particular motor here can be wired up to be 120 volts or 240 volts. You can see that here on the tag, or 115, 230. I don't know how clear you can see that. Now there's going to be some other data that we're going to dive into. So you see that 12.12/6. So if it's wired to 115 volts, then it's going to pull 12 amps when it's running. If it's wired to 230, 6 amps, kind of, sort of, somewhat. So what I'll do is, once I get this thing put back together, set you back over here. Once I get it all put back together and ready to go, then I'll test the amp draw on it to make sure it's not dragging or anything else. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and keep going, pulling this thing open, because I want to check this back bearing and also get into it a little bit better so I can make sure it's nice and clean. Now, when you start getting towards the end here, you want to take your time. Make sure when you pull it off all the way, things are looking correct, and you don't lose sight of what you got going on there and drop some parts, because it's a fancy little whirly woo in there that keeps everything where it should be. Some wave plates and fun stuff like that. Now, you want to know, I bet you $1, what they were doing is, there's a cooling fan right in there, and what they were probably doing is sticking a screwdriver in here and spinning that fan to get the motor to start up. And doing that, they got into that wire and chewed it up a little bit. I mean, that's really not a way to get a motor going, but what are you going to do? All right, get you out of the way so I don't melt you. Fire you up. Fire! Okay. So now we got our splice in there, and that should go right up to near that hole. So we'll stick you back through there, pull you up, make sure you're not going to interfere with anything. Stop it. Okay. Still flexible. All right. So when I gave that thing a nice little blowout yesterday, I got it pretty clean in there, which is good. But I'm going to give it another little little blowout. And then right back in here, that bearing, I'm going to lubricate that bearing up a little bit. It's tight. It's not flopping around like I thought. There was just garbage in there, so I don't have to be too particularly worried about it. But what I'm going to use, I use it in a couple of different places, but you got this WD-40 Specialist, and it's dry lube. It's kind of like graphite, so it's a good lubricant. But the good thing about it is it doesn't attract moisture. It doesn't attract dust because it's not moisture. It's a dry lube, high heat. So there's a lot of friction or whatever, it can withstand that. And more importantly, is it doesn't attract a lot of garbage and goop and stuff like that. So we'll get that. So give me a minute. I'm going to go through, blow this out one more time, make sure it's all clean before I button it up. And then maybe we'll do a little rattle can refresh on this motor. Once I get the new capacitor in here, we'll get it all buttoned up and run it through its paces again and see what we got. So now we're all plugged in. So now we're going to get the capacitor in, and we'll take the next step from there. Remember, this was plugged into here, and this thing wouldn't run. And I said, this is probably the problem. It's really, I got a replacement here. It's really like a $10 part. It was $9 and something. I got it from Grainger. You can find them on the internet. You just got to be really careful when you buy these things, because sometimes the unit of measurement may not be the same and you get yourself into trouble. So stick locally if you can, like a place like Grainger, because you're pretty well certain of what you're going to get. Because I've even gotten them off the web and tested them with this little gizmo here, only to find that they're bad when you get them. So now typically these little guys, there'll be an indication that they're bad. Like if you see this one here, there's a little that little spot up there when these go bad will allow the pressure relief. This one is just swollen. I know you can't see it, but I can feel it around the sides right here. This is swollen up. There is no relief hole on this for whatever reason, but you can feel it when they're swollen up. Anyway, let's plug this thing in and see what we get. So we got the replacement. We're going to plug it in just like that. Okay. I got the switch set up. It's just put together just so I can use the switch and see what happens. But let's run this over and plug it in and make sure we don't have anything touching anything. Yeah, that's probably not one of the best thing to have is a nice metal bench to work with wiring on. So that way it grounds out on the bench and blows things up. But we're good. Okay. All right. Let's see if it works. Look at that. Fired right up. All right. All right. Kick in the brake. Yep. The brake's kicking in. So, all right, we're good. So let's get this unplugged. No fires. Motor's cool. We're running. We're off to the races. All right. So now the switch. It's illuminary switch. Illuminary. Light comes on when you turn power on. You can see the age of the switch, and the light is not coming on. Now, there is a tab here normally, and that's probably what it is. But normally it's grounded, right? And the ground is what gives you the light, because you got two positives in here, but that tab is broken off. Okay. And yeah, That tab is broken off and you can't reattach it. So without a ground or a neutral, that's not going to come on. So it still works, still functions as a switch. And because the light's not on, if the drill is running, you're not going to know it, right? Now what I might do, I can do one or two things. I can replace it with another fancy switch, or I can go solder a wire to that post and make this one work again. Because the rocker's good, everything's good about it. Let me ponder on that a minute, because these are specific sizes. If I have a switch for this punch out, then maybe I'll replace the switch, but if not, I'll fix this one. Let's go see. Okay, so the switch I had on hand was not the switch I needed, so I made the executive decision to fix this one. Let's turn on. Yeah, that should do it. Okay, so let me get a little tool here. Oh, yeah, need a spot for that. Get this little guy down here. Ooh, that would have been hilarious. All right. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to clean up this little doodad here. Get some nice clean metal. Yeah, rough it up, rough it up. What I'm going to do, since the tab is broken off, is I am just going to solder a piece of wire directly to that, so we will have the ground that we need in order to illuminate that switch, so you know that the drill is running when you turn it on, because that's important. It's not like noises and things spinning and stuff like that is an indication that it's running. You need this little light, but hey, lights are fancy. People like lights. So let me see what I can do with this. I'm going to put you right. Look at like you want to be there. Yeah. More power. All right. So let's get some. Oh, yeah. There we go. Just like that. All right. So now we have a functioning ground. So when we hook it up to the unit, apply a ground, our little light will work again. Or it should. But let's go see if it does. Okay, we're all plugged back in now. I wonder what person smarter than me said, it'd be a really good idea if we have a switch that lights up so whoever's using this piece of equipment knows it's running, because it's pretty important. All right, so let's turn this thing on. Ready? Now, I don't know if it's running or not, do you know? But anyway, now let's apply an earth ground. Oh, look at that. Now we know it's running. All right, sweet. Now we can use this and be safe knowing the fact that the switch is going to tell us if we're running or not. So let's put this stuff back together, and now it's time to just start cleaning stuff up, put stuff back together, get our capacitor mounted back in there, and then we'll turn our attention to the other platform. All right, let me get a few things done here, maybe do a little rattle can refresh on this. Yeah, and we'll get back to it. Uh-oh. something happened. This thing just totally exploded into a bunch of different pieces and parts. Oh, look at this. Now, just tore it completely down, so we can go through, clean up each individual part, make it all nice, pretty, and shiny. Now, this one here, we got this polished steel. So I'm gonna try a fancy cleaning tool to get this cleaned up. So hang tight and let me show you what it is. Okay, so my first go around is I got this fancy set of tools here. They are specially designed for cleaning polished metal. No, that's not true, but it does a good job. Let's see what we can get here off the first layer without putting a whole bunch of grooves in there. Let's see if this is going to have an effect here. That's the first layer. Okay, did a pretty nice little job of it, but I'm going to try another thing here, so let's try that. This is other fancy stuff. It's just a fine grain, almost like an emery cloth. Well, for essentially it's an emery cloth. So we're going to take this and throw it on there and see what kind of result we get. See those little lines in there? I mean, it's not bad. You can go back through, polish it up a little bit, but not a particular fan. So now let's get the whirly death wheel and see what that does. Now, I like to do, when I do that, I like to save on my grinding pad wheels. And I do that because I use an aggressive pad for other work. But when I need it, I save all my old ones because they're a little less aggressive, right? And a little less aggressive means they're more of a polishing wheel now than they are a grinding wheel. And we can do some real good cleaning up with that, and it's a little more efficient. All right, so we got a nice little first layer off with the whirly wheel, and for whatever reason, it looks like they were putting the wood glue in before they actually decided to start drilling on it, but okay. Okay, now let's get you off of there. Yep, that's done. Let's get, I got another one because I want to make it pretty and shiny. So I went over that with a worn out 80 to get all the garbage off. And now I got myself a 320. Go over that a little bit, polish it up. Okay, now let's take you. All right, let's get in there and get a little closer look at it. Now it's starting to look like a presentable tool. So all I did is got the first layer off with a little more aggressive grinder. Then I used my palm sander, went over it with a worn out 80 grit, then went over it again with a 320, and then did a final with a 2000 to get that polish back. But there we go. Now, let's see if we can do I don't know, maybe we'll do a rattle can refresh over here or something like that. All right, so now we got the drill deck up there, and we're going to clean that up. Now, I'm not going to go crazy on this because I do want to keep some of the patina on this drill, I think, because it does have a history. Don't want to wipe it all out because I'm not trying to make it look new. I'm just trying to make sure all the parts and pieces work like they're supposed to, and that a new owner can enjoy it for many years to come. And like I said, show that it does have some history, but that it's been well taken care of, or at least it has while I've had it. What you say? Okay, well, just cleaning this up a bit, getting some of the parts left I got to clean up. So I got basically just brake cleaner that takes off most of the garbage. But I'll tell you, after a while of messing around with these kind of tools, you start to learn some tricks and methods and so on and so forth. But you also, in the process, learn how to read the life of the tool, as it were. Okay, and you can tell some things. You can tell some things on the tool. You can tell, for example, how the operator used the tool, how they, whether they were left-handed or right-handed, whether they favored one side of it. You can tell a few things, but more importantly, you can also tell how they take care of their stuff and so on and so forth. And I got to tell you, on this one here, I wish I knew who the previous person was, because I would like to ask them why did they hate this tool so much? I mean, is it the tool? Did they hate the tool? Do they hate their job? Did they hate their life? I don't know, but I have never. And I've worked on a lot of tools, but man, this one, they were just brutal. And yeah, there was no care ever given to this tool. And basically, I think they just ran it until it died, and then, put it off in the corner somewhere. Never, I don't think a rag or a lubricant or anything ever touched this tool. It's amazing. So, like I said, I'd like to ask them, what in God's name did this tool ever do to you to treat it so badly? But that's okay, because now it's feeling better. It's looking better. It's looking all shiny and pretty. And like I said, some of the base components here, I'm going to leave a little bit of patina on it, but it's going to look good. It's going to function well, and give this thing another chance at life. And to be honest with you guys, if somebody wants a tool like this and they have to work hard to get it, they have to pay for it, they are going to take care of it. All right. So, but man alive, somebody hated this thing. All right, we're going to start putting this thing back together piece by piece. And I'll just have to deal with the fact that I will never know what that person had such hatred for this tool. But it's looking pretty good now. And the great thing is, it'll be back into somebody's shop that will care for it because they're getting something that they wanted. There's that. Okay. Let's tighten you up a tad. Like that. Like that. Look at that. Okay. Well, we're starting to look like something. Okay. So now, let me take this honker. Lift with your back, not with your legs. There we go. A little more lubrication. So I know you guys, I've been at this for a little while, but I don't know if you remember how it would stop, but see how things just fluid now. Ooh, nice, fancy. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slowly put this thing back together. Get all the components back up top on there, get the motor back on there, and then we'll finish cleaning it up, making some adjustments over here. I don't know if you can see, but let's get in there so you can get a little closer to the, look how shiny that came out. I don't know if you guys remember the surface rust that was all in there. Still got a little more cleaning to do, but so a lot of it, almost the whole thing looked like that, but now it's shiny. Getting there. We're getting there. Okay, so we got this cleaned up. Now, we got the tray, and I could have taken this and did a little rattle can refresh to it, but I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to leave it just as it is. Okay, again, what do you guys think? You know, how about I put it on the right way? Let's flip that thing around, put it on that way. There we go. Now we're pooping like a bull, I guess but it's on here now. Okay. I think leaving it on there like that, leaving a little bit of life in it, I think it suits it well. So I'm gonna keep putting it back together. You guys see me take it apart, so you don't have to sit there and watch that. I'm gonna put some thread lock on some of these, tighten those up. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to putting it back together, and you guys just hang out. Look at that. What do you guys think? All right, well, I think that's about as far as I'm going to take it today. I'm going to finish buttoning some things up here, get cleaned up around here, because we got a final thing to do, and that is just touch it up, clean it up, put the lid back on it, and then stand back and get a final vision. But look at it go. Nice. See you guys. Well, here you go, guys. All done. Ready to go back to work. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for sticking around. If you oh. Hey guys, here you go. All done. Ready to go back to work. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the video, because I know I enjoyed doing it. I always get a sense of satisfaction of saving something from the scrap pile and putting it back to work. The way it works over there at HDR is it'll come in, a new arrival, and then it'll sit on the floor, and then it'll go into markdown, and if it still hasn't sold, then it'll make it out to the scrap pile. So we save this tool from that, and it'll find a new home, and somebody will put it to work and maybe enjoy it and take it a little bit more care than the last guy. Anywho, if you liked it, give me a quick like, maybe subscribe, because we're going to be doing another one. And until then, we'll see ya.